Let's begin by sweeping arms up and overhead. Take a great big stretch, hook your thumbs together, and just start shifting your weight from side to side. Work up a good yawn or two. Stretching, shifting your weight side to side, yawning. And then come all the way to neutral. And as you exhale, release your arms down by your sides. Let's repeat. Great big shoulder shrug. Inhale, arms up and overhead. And exhale down. Once again, a great big inhale, sweeping your arms all the way up and overhead. And this time, release your right hand down to your hip and stretch over into that side stretch. Knees are soft, toes are relaxed. And with an inhale, come all the way up and release. Big inhale, both arms up and overhead. Exhale, left hand down to your hip and over into a side stretch. Again, knees are unlocked, toes are relaxed. And inhale, come all the way up and release. Once again, great big inhale, both arms up and overhead. And exhale all the way out. Knees soft. Once again, big inhale, arms up and overhead. And this time, release that right hand down, once again to your hip, over into that side stretch. And bend the top elbow, give yourself a pat on the back, and straighten up. Again, knees stay unlocked, toes stay relaxed. Right arm comes up and over. You're going to use that right hand to plug that left arm bone into the shoulder joint. Keep it plugged in as you drag the arm behind your head. So keep pushing down as you pull across. Get to wherever you're going on that and breathe, keeping your head on straight. Keep pushing down, keep pulling across. With a good grip on that elbow, don't let go. Begin to resist yourself, as challenging as that is. Pull with your right hand to the right and shove with your left elbow to the left. It doesn't look like anything's happening, but it will definitely intensify that shoulder stretch. So you're pushing and pulling. Pulling to the right with your right hand, shoving to the left with your left elbow. Big inhale. And then exhale. Release that arm down. Let the blood flow back into it. Feel the tingles. Let's do the other side. Big inhale, both arms up and overhead. Left hand down to your hip as you come over into a bit of a side stretch. And then bending the top elbow, give yourself a pat on the back. Straightening up. Left hand plugs that right elbow into socket and then drag it behind your head. Keep plugging it in as you pull it across. So head is on straight, knees are unlocked, toes are relaxed, and you are pushing and pulling. Pulling to the left, pushing to the right. Right elbow shoving to the right, left hand pulling to the left. And release. And once again, feel the tingles. Blood flowing back into those arms. Big inhale, arms up and overhead. And exhale, let your arms swing. Let them cross in front. Start crossing the right arm on top. The right arm on top, and then give yourself a great big hug. Shoulders down away from your ears, fingers below your armpits. Wrapping up nice and tight. Knees unlocked, leaning into that space between your shoulder blades. Breathing, yawning, letting your shoulders shrug away from your ears. And then take that bottom arm, flip it up, wrap the top arm around it. If your hands don't quite make that connection, then you can use a belt to bridge that gap. Now, the most important part of this is getting your elbows to cross. So if your elbows didn't quite cross, you do want the elbows crossed. So ideally you have this right elbow across your chest and your left elbow locks it in place. If it doesn't, then you just hold on to it with your hand. So there's a variation going on here. An option is this one, just holding onto the elbow. Otherwise, you might have your arms completely tangled. Shoulders down away from your ears. A good hold or lock on that right elbow, because you're going to shove the right elbow to the right and you're going to hold it in place with your left elbow or your left hand so it doesn't go anywhere. Again, shoulders are away from your ears as you shove and hold and breathe. This little extra effort of pushing and holding as you stretch will fatigue the muscle a little bit more and have it give up and release a little bit faster. And then untangle, let it go. Second verse, same as the first. Left arm on top this time. Crossing that left arm on top, give yourself a great big hug. Shoulders down away from your ears, fingers below your armpits, wrapping up nice and tight. Check in to make sure your neck is released. A nice long, elegant neck. Your knees are relaxed. And again, lock that left elbow in place. Either hold on to it with your hand or cross it with your other elbow. Maybe you can clasp your hands or bridge the gap with a belt. Shoulders down away from your ears, and then shove your left elbow to the left. Hold it in place with your right elbow or your right hand. Left shoves left, right holds right. Breathe. And once more, release. Big inhale, both arms up and overhead, palms turn forward. As you exhale, drive your elbows and shoulder blades down together onto your back. Repeat, big inhale, stretch up. Exhale, drive down, pull down. Again, inhale, stretch up. Exhale, drive down, pull down. One more time. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, drive down, pull down. Stay where you are. I'm going to tip my elbows forward and pull my thumbs backward a little bit. So elbows forward, thumbs backward. And I've turned my palms towards my head. Elbows forward, thumbs back, shoulder blades down and together. Now find your front ribs, find your belly, pull them back into your body. And breathe. Keep pulling your elbows, shoulder blades down together behind your back if you can. And inhale, stretch up. And as you exhale, release your arms, bringing your hands together behind your back, clasping your hands together. Get a good strong grip. In fact, diamond grip here. Squeeze your hands together hard, shoulder shrug up, back and down, crushing your hands together, squeezing your hands together super, super tight. Squeeze your shoulder blades together, pressing your knuckles down towards the floor. Now check your head. Put your head on straight. Start pulling your elbows away from your back, any amount at all. And all the while, though, you are crushing, squeezing your hands together. The muscles that energize or activate or move your fingers originate up in your elbows. When your hands are very active, those muscles tense and tighten, and they prevent you from hyperextending those elbows. Elbows are only supposed to bend one way. They're not supposed to flip backwards. So when you activate, crush your hands together, you prevent your elbows from hyperextending. So if you notice your elbows are locked out, unlock your elbows. Keep a slight bend in your elbows, work your hands even stronger, and try pulling your arms away from your back without hyperextending your elbows. And then release. Big inhale, arms up. So in case you haven't noticed, everything we've done so far today has been a stretch, but at the same time, you've had to use some muscular effort to get a more effective, deeper, safer stretch. Big inhale, arms up. And exhale down. One more time. Great big inhale, arms up. And exhale, release. Please step forward to the front edge of your mat. Have your clutter nearby, but out of the way so you don't accidentally trip on it. Standing towards the very front edge of your mat. Begin with a great big inhale, sweep your arms up. And as you exhale, bend your knees generously, swan dive down into a forward fold. Inhale, come halfway up, hands on your lap. And exhale, melt back down, keeping your knees slightly bent. Now bend your knees enough that you can slide your hands underneath your feet, palms up. So the palm of your hand is underneath the sole of your foot. So you're going to stand on your hands all the way up to the wrists. So you're going to have to bend your knees a lot. So get your hands all the way underneath your feet and have your feet apart from one another so that you can fully stand on your hands. And shift weight forward towards your wrists. You're really smushing the palms of your hands with the soles of your feet. Knees unlocked. Then you're going to slide your hands out and put your hands down flat. Really spread your fingers wide and come on down to hands and knees. You might be more comfortable oriented facing your screen so you don't have to turn your head sideways. I've gone sideways just so you can see the profile view and the distance between my hands and my knees. I'm going to put padding underneath my knees. I recommend you do the same. So on hands and knees, hands beneath the shoulders, knees beneath the hips. We're going to inhale for a cow. Exhale for cat. Notice I have my toes curled under, so I'm getting a bit of a toe stretch too. Inhale, head up, tail up for cow. Exhale for cat. Fingers spread wide. Hands are like starfish. Couple more cat and cows. Waving your spine back and forth, up and down. Now, the next time you find yourself in that cat position, that arched Halloween cat position, spin your fingers to point backwards. So dial your hands, spin your fingers to point backwards. Shift your weight forward so that you can put a bend in your elbows. Keep a bend in your elbows. So you might have to stay shifted forward. Fingers spun backwards, palms are down, elbows are unlocked. And I'm already feeling the stretch move up the forearms. If you're not feeling enough stretch, do keep your elbows bent and shift your weight back toward your heels a little bit more. If you lock out your elbows, if you hyperextend your elbows, you're not going to get the stretch that we're going for. And breathe. You relax your shoulders, maybe wiggle your jaw. Check in with your hips. Butt is relaxed. Elbows unlocked. It takes 3 or 4 breaths for that intensity to begin to subside. And then dial out and release. And flare your fingers. Think about wafting incense up towards your nose, maybe sniffing it. Really fan your fingers. Reversing, fanning your fingers to go the other way. So it's like you're pushing the incense away. You've had enough. Pushing the fumes away. Right. I'm going to come back to hands and knees. Again, padding underneath your knees, highly recommended. Take your right hand, flip the palm up. So your palm is up. You're going to hold it in place with your left hand. Both elbows bend. And then spin your elbow pits to face forward. Show me your veins. Shifting your weight forward will allow you to get a little bit more spin. Elbows stay bent as you do maximum rotation. Spin that arm as far as it will go. Elbow pit shining forward, holding it in place with your left hand. So we're going for another wrist stretch of that brachioradialis muscle. And then unwind, and then we'll do the other side. Palm up, back of your hand is down, holding it in place. Elbows bent, shifting your weight forward so you can bend your elbows, and then spin, elbow pit to face forward. Show me your veins. And release. Again, that's the stretch of the brachioradialis, and just a little anatomy lesson because I can. There's two bones in your forearm. There's the ulna and the radius. The ulna is on the pinky finger. The thumb's on the thumb. The radius is on the thumb side. And we know it's the radius because it rotates around the ulna. And it's a slightly longer bone than the ulna. Radius is slightly longer than the ulna. What does that matter? Well, it does matter a little bit because bone structure will determine whether or not you are able to rotate your palms flat to the ground when you're attempting to do fancy variations on like dolphin, dog, or arm balancing poses. So we're going to continue loosening up the shoulders and the wrists and the upper body and exploring bone structure. But first we're going to lie down on our tummies. So you might use that pillow as padding underneath your front hip bones. Lie down on your tummy. Go away, ball. And take your arms out to your sides. Got this ball. It doesn't. Oh, there it goes. Arms out to your sides, making like a T. Then come up onto your fingertips. Elbows are bent, elbows tip forward, shoulders slouch down. And you're going to turn to look over your right shoulder. As you pull your right shoulder up, drop your left shoulder down. So looking to the right, dropping your left shoulder, left elbow forward and down. And then twist, look left, drop right. And come to center and bring your hands in a little bit more narrow. And look right, drop left. You relax your butt. Look left, drop right. And come to neutral. And maybe bring your hands in one more hand width. Look right, drop left. Look left, drop right. And come to neutral. Elbows come beneath your shoulders. Tuck your elbows in narrow. So get your elbows in as narrow as they're willing to go this morning. Thumbs out to the sides. Tuck the thumb side of the elbow in as narrow as you can get it. And then stick that elbow skin. Stick the elbow skin wide. Thumbs hitchhiking out to the side, elbow skin sticking wide. You're going to flip your palms down. And a number of us will not be able to get the thumb mound of the palm, part of the palm that the thumb attaches to. A number of us won't be able to get that down flat without our elbows unsticking. That's normal. That's common, I should say. It's not unusual. It's also normal to get your thumbs perfectly flat to the ground. It's just bone structure. If your radius is longer than your ulna, it's more likely that your thumb pad will get down flat. But a number of us have ulna and radius that are more equal in length. And if that's the case, then the ulna doesn't quite rotate all the way around so that you can get your thumbs down flat. What does that matter? It doesn't much until you try doing fancy versions of handstands or arm balances where you want to put your palms down flat. If you can't get your palms down flat without your elbows unsticking, then you are going to be one of those people who interlaces their fingers and tuck that pinky finger under. So you know where this is headed. We're going to go back into our down dog and we're going to play around with strengthening the shoulders a little bit more, and then eventually doing a dolphin pose, downward facing dog on our elbows. And a number of you will have the option of elbows narrow, palms down completely flat, keeping the elbows narrow. A number of us will have to interlace our fingers to keep our elbows from going wide. So just know your own body. It's just information, nothing wrong with it one way or the other. All right, and we're going to back up into that child's pose, and we're going to work on our down dog and then eventually that dolphin dog variation. So from hands and knees, do clear your surface for takeoff. And you might, again, be better oriented looking towards the screen rather than going sideways. I'm going sideways so you can see the distance between my hands and feet, and maybe you would want to put some good distance between your hands and feet as well. Big toes together, knees apart, hips back on your heels, and crawl your fingertips away from your toes as you staple your hips onto your heels as best you can. This is a pretty good starting length distance between hands and feet. So where your toes are now, where your fingertips are now, in this extended child's pose variation is kind of where you want to have them in your down dog. So let's come on up. Toes curled under, hands stay pretty much where they are. Exhale, pull your tummy up, lift your hips up, back your hips up into your downward facing dog. Now, if you're a little bit more experienced, a little bit longer, looser, you might consider wiggling your heels back and taking a slightly longer dog. Shoulders shrug away from your ears. Let your arm bones plug into the shoulders, elbows unlocked. And then rotate your armpits towards your face. Elbows still slightly bent as you twist your armpits towards your face. Maybe turn your fingers out to the sides a little bit and spinning your elbows in narrow, elbow pits facing forward. Try pressing that thumb side of the hand down into the ground. And breathe. Knees unlocked, heels lift, flip your buns up towards the sun and pull your hips away from your shoulders, getting longer through your torso. As you get longer through your torso, continue to let those arm bones plug into the shoulders. Rise up onto tippy toes, shift your body weight forward, come to the top of a push-up. Arms are still plugged into socket. You're gonna bend your knees to touch your toes down, your knees down, and advance your chest forward. Elbows are still unlocked. Elbows are hugging your ribs like you're ticklish and someone's tickling you in the ribs. Guard against being tickled in the ribs. And then push up and back into your child's pose. We're going to work on that chaturanga variation that we come into from a lunge. So from here on hands and knees, we're going to come on up to hands and knees. Step forward with your left foot. Grab it, move it forward. Take it up towards the front edge of your mat. Inch it forward. Across the front edge of your mat, you have heel, hand, hand. Heel, hand, hand in a line across the front edge of your mat. Back toes are curled under. You're going to lift your knee up, your hips up, and advance your chest forward. Elbows hug in. Fingers can spin out so your elbows scrape your ribs, and you're going to lower down and push up. Lower down and push up. Let your elbows scrape your ribs. Lower down and push up. You're going for 3 or 4 on this side. And then lift your hips up, step back into your downward facing dog. And we'll do the same on the other side. Take a giant step up with your right foot, grab it, move it forward, get it all the way up there. Heel, hand, hand across the front edge of your mat. Back knee is lifted, hips are lifted. Chest advances. Fingers spin out, elbows hug your ribs, elbows scrape your ribs as you lower down, push up. Lower down, push up. We're going for 3 or 4 on this side as well. And then stepping back into that downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, rise to tippy toes, shift your body weight forward. Go ahead and leave those toes curled under, but lower your knees down to the mat. Advance your chest forward. Elbows scrape your ribs. Fingers are turned out. Lower down only so far as you can push back up. Lower down only so far as you can push back up. You should be feeling this on the back of your arms, those triceps. Maybe one more of those. And then back up into that child's pose. Big toes together, knees apart. Goal is to fatigue those muscles a little bit so that they're more likely to be warm and stretchy and cooperative. And here we go, hands and knees. From hands and knees, toes curled under, inhale for cow. And exhale for cat. Pull your tummy in, hawk up a hairball, tuck your tail, tuck your chin, and then lift your knees to hover 1 inch off the mat. Make sure your abs are engaged, strong abs. Keeping your tummy strong, flip your buns up towards the sun. Stick your booty out. Heels are lifted, knees are bent, buns up towards the sun. Arms are plugged into the shoulders. Elbows are unlocked. Armpits wrap around towards your face. Maybe wiggling your heels back if you want a little longer dog. You've been doing this a little while. You might want a longer dog. All right. The trick here to transition to elbows is to lift your head up. Get your head up. Get your head up as high as you can get your head up. Then spin those elbows in and down. And if you're like me, your thumbs are going to lift up. And then you can bring your hands together. Try keeping those elbows narrow. And then you can drop your head if that works for you. Dolphin dog. Bending your knees, come on down, untuck your toes, back up into your child's pose. You make sure your hands and feet are on the same surface. You really don't want to put your elbows down on the mat and have your toes off the mat because that mat can slide if your feet aren't on it with you. All right, well, again, extended child's pose, big toes down on the floor, hips back on your heels, arms stretched out as far as they'll go, fingers spread wide. That's your measurement, your starting position for your down dog. Bottoms up. And you might consider wiggling your heels back, getting a slightly longer base to that dog, if that's more comfortable for you. Knees unlocked, hips lift high. Let's do that transition again. So the transition, the trick is to lift your head up. Look forward, spin your elbows in, narrow, like you're doing that chaturanga, but you're not lowering your chest, you're just lowering your elbows. Elbows hit the deck, and if your hands slam together, fine, let them slam together. Try not to let your elbows go any wider. You want to get your elbows as narrow as possible, and then drop your head. Head down between your elbows. If your elbows are narrow, you're less likely to put pressure on your head. This is not a headstand. So elbows narrow will help prevent you from standing on your head. With elbows narrow, you can let your head hang, maybe twist your head side to side and get a good strong neck stretch. Arm bones deep in the shoulder joint, head hanging down between your elbows, twisting your head like you're unscrewing a light bulb. You'll get a good neck stretch. And then once again, you can bend your knees down, back up into that child's pose. Breathe. And then go ahead, sit up. We're going to do that one more time, but first, check this out. So again, if you have your arms, elbows narrow, your elbows are higher than your head. But if your elbows are wide, your head is higher than your elbows. Your head sticks out more. So the more narrow you can get your elbows, the less likely you are to put pressure on the top of your head. to do. Keep your elbows as narrow as possible. So let's go back into that hands and knees position, setting up. Do make sure your toes are on the mat with you. Inhale for cow. Exhale for cat. Gather your belly up into your body. Bottoms up into your downward facing dog. And maybe wiggle your heels back if that works for you. Looking forward. Elbows narrow. Spin the pinky finger edge of your elbows in narrow. With your head up, get those elbows as narrow as you can get them. If your hands pop up, fine. Hands pop up. And press your chest back towards your thighs, letting your head drop down towards the ground. And again, if your elbows are narrow enough, there's no pressure on your head. Yeah, maybe your head touches, but you're not bearing weight on your head. If you're doing this correctly, you're going to feel a good neck stretch, if that's one of the areas that you carry tension in your neck. So there is a way to get out of this that we have not practiced yet. So another way to get out of this is to lift your head up, put your palms down, and lift your elbows up, and return to that downward facing dog. From this downward facing dog with your head lifted, lift your hips, bend your knees, and you can hippity hop or walk to the front edge of your mat. Find yourself in a forward fold. Knees bent, reverse swan dive. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. Sweeping your arms up and overhead. And exhale, press your breath out, pull your belly in. Let's do it again. Great big inhale, arms up and overhead. And exhale, release. Please, once again, step forward to the very front edge of your mat. Big inhale, arms up and overhead. With knees unlocked, swan dive down into a forward fold. Inhale, come halfway up. And exhale, release. Take a giant step back with your right foot. Wiggle that right heel back, 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 back. Sweep your arms behind you like a downhill skier. With an inhale, sweep your arms up, catching your ears, coming into your warrior one. Some people call this crescent lunge. The technical difference between warrior one and crescent lunge is what the back heel is doing. So if your back heel's lifted, some people call this crescent lunge. If your back heel's down, some people call it warrior one. Whatever. Breathe. And then release your hands to your hips and check the distance, not only front to back, but also side to side between your feet. Maybe take that back foot, hop it a little bit wider, but do keep it on the mat with you. That back foot a little bit wider, it's easier to drop down lower into this lunge, hinge forward, control this lunge, and then bring your hands behind your back, clasping your hands together, and bow forward into humble warrior. Check those elbows. Make sure your elbows are unlocked. Maybe clasp your hands together super tight, like you're creating a diamond in the palms of your hands. Keep those elbows from hyperextending. Relaxing your toes. Back heel can be lifted or back heel can be planted. I don't really care, as long as you are able to breathe and bow forward a little deeper. Again, check those elbows, let your head hang. And then hands to your hips, hands to the front edge of your mat. Step back into your downward facing dog. And if you like chaturangas, either you could stay in down dog or rise, tippy toes, shift your body weight forward, come to the top of a push-up. Really transition forward and hug those elbows against your ribs as you lower down. Shoulders back, chest lifted for your cobra. Or if you want to go to up dog, you can go to up dog. And then release. Child's pose for everybody. Big toes together, knees apart. Measuring out your down dog. Coming on up to your downward facing dog. And from down dog, lift your head, bend your knees, hip hop or walk to the front edge of your mat. Hang your head, bend your knees, reverse swan dive. Inhale, come all the way up. And release. Let's do that on the other side. Standing at the front edge of your mat. Once again, big inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, swan dive down. Inhale, coming up halfway. And this time you're stepping back with your left foot. Take a big step back with that left foot. Sweep your arms up and overhead, catching your ears. Crescent lunge or warrior one, whatever you want to call it. And then hands come to your hips, and you might wiggle the front foot a little wider or hop the back foot a little bit wider. Widen your stance. You've got length and some width between your feet. That width between your feet will help you control this as you bend the front knee, hinge forward on the inside of that front thigh. Clasp your hands behind your back. Diamond hands. Squeeze your hands together nice and tight, like you're creating a diamond in the palm of your hands, to keep those elbows from hyperextending as you bow forward into your humble warrior. Again, back heel can do whatever it needs to do. Back heel can stay lifted, or back heel can plant down as you bow forward. Then hands to your hips, hands to the floor. Step back into your downward facing dog. And feel free to stay in down dog or rise to tippy toes. Shift your body weight forward. Elbows scrape your ribs as you chaturanga, lower down. Shoulders back, chest lifted for your cobra or your up dog. And exhale. Let's meet up in that child's pose. The toes together, knees apart. Padding underneath your knees, blocks nearby. I'm going to go for a hamstring stretch. So with padding underneath your knees, go ahead, step forward with your right foot. I'll do this facing you. Step forward with your right foot and come down into a nice long, low lunge. Make sure that front foot is sticking out past your knee. Hands on blocks. And then rock back on the front heel. Bring the blocks back underneath your shoulders. Bow forward over the front leg. Kick it up a notch by engaging the front leg like you're pulling that front heel back, like you're skidding it along the yoga mat, but it doesn't actually go anywhere. So stick your heel down, don't let it go anywhere, but engage like you're pulling it back hard. And that will intensify the hamstring stretch. So too will flipping your buns towards the sun. So sticking your butt out, advancing your chest forward, getting a longer, flatter back. That will also make this a more intense hamstring stretch. And ease on out, back up. Let's switch sides. Left foot forward. Nice long, low lunge. Make sure your toes stick out past your knee. And then rocking back on that front heel. Leave the heel there on the mat. It doesn't go anywhere. Your hands, your shoulders shrug backwards, but your heel stays where it is. And then engage as if you were dragging the heel backward. Engage like you're dragging that heel backward will help you square your hips. Also intensify that hamstring stretch by flipping your buns out, stick your butt out, and advance your chest forward. And then ease on out. All right. Have your blocks nearby at the front edge of your mat. Clear the rest of the clutter out of the way. Blocks at the front edge of your mat. Bottoms up into your downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, rise to tippy toes, shift your body weight forward, take a giant step up with your right foot, grab it, move it forward, get it on up there. Hands can go on blocks. If you had an imaginary line down the middle of your mat, one foot on one side of the line, the other foot on the other. Hands on blocks directly beneath your shoulders. Back heel is lifted so that you can press the inner left heel straight back. That inner left heel stretches straight back. Hands on blocks beneath your shoulders as you begin to pull the front leg straight and engage like you're dragging the front leg backwards. You're dragging your foot backwards along the mat. That will help you square your hips. Deepen that right front hip crease as you dump the pocket change out of your left hip pocket. Squaring and leveling your hips for your pyramid pose. Advancing your chest forward. Long, flat back. Hands on blocks so that your shoulders are level. And then soften, bend both knees, step forward, step back, switch sides. Again, you want to go long with width between your feet. So get off the balance beam. Stretch that inner right heel straight back. Pull the front leg straight and back, although it doesn't go anywhere. Engage like you're pulling the front leg back towards your hips. Dumping pocket change out of your right hip pocket. Breathing. Flat back, advancing your chest forward. Please don't put unnecessary strain on your back in an attempt to kiss your knee or suck your big toe. No reason to be doing that. Tabletop back is good. Neutral spine. Safer. My intention with this pose is the hamstring stretch. I'm not here to strain your back. I'm here to stretch your hamstrings. And then soften your knees. Once again, step forward. And then step your feet wide. So you might have to reorient yourself so that you can set your feet wide apart and with one foot on either edge of your mat. Find yourself standing, facing the screen with your feet wide apart. So if you only have one mat, you might need to spin your mat. You got two? It's easier to work with. I'm having one of those days where my mic is all over the place for some reason. Could be that I'm all over the place. And Mike's having a hard time staying put. Okay, so feet are going to go nice and wide apart as your outstretched arms, ankles underneath wrists. And turn your right foot to the right. Turn your left foot to the right. All 10 toes kind of going to the right. Open your arms up. Big inhale. And as you exhale, arms level with your shoulders. Thumbs up so your shoulders drop down and your heart is open. I'm going to invite that right knee to bend. This is the variation of Virabhadrasana, Virabhadra, the warrior, warrior two, in which Virabhadra is taking aim, pulling back on his bow to fire arrows at the enemy. So shoulders are down, taking aim, maybe looking at your thumb like an artist with your back eye. So that hand is in line with the rest of your body. It's not back behind you. Line up, pull back, pull your tummy in, drop your shoulders down, lunge a little bit lower. And then you can extend both arms. And breathe. This is warrior two. And then lift up and let's switch sides. Spin your toes to the other side of the mat. Left toes turn out, right toes turn in. Big inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, arms level with your shoulders. Thumbs up, having a good day. Let that left knee bend. Again, if you were to gaze out over that left hand, Be able to see your thumb with your back eye, artist style. Shoulders down away from your ears, pulling back on that bow, dropping your shoulders, pulling your tummy in, maybe lunging a little bit lower. And extending out, warrior two. And inhale, come all the way up. Let's switch sides, spinning your feet. Exhale, warrior two. I'm going to go for a variation on warrior two. So let's bring hands to the hips and sweep from inner thigh, from groin to that right knee, to spin that right knee to the right, and then twist with your hand, your belly to the left. You can drag your fingers across your tummy. Try to open up the distance between belly button and inner knee. Maximize the distance between inner knee and belly button. Knee to the right, belly button to the left. Even as you lunge a little lower. Come on up, let's switch. Big inhale. Don't forget to move your feet. Exhale, warrior two. Open it up, give yourself an adjustment. I've been having a discussion in the teacher training program about touching people, whether or not people are going to be comfortable with being adjusted. It's kind of split. Some people think, yes, everybody's going to want to be touched. And other people think, no, it's going to be a while before people want to be touched. Big inhale, come all the way up. And one more time, third time's a charm. Switching sides, warrior two. And just reach out over that right leg. Put your elbow on your lap. You can use the elbow to steer the knee, swinging that right knee to the right. Left hand comes to your tummy. Twist your belly towards the sky. Shoulders down away from your ears. The trick is to continue to twist your tummy, twist your chest towards ceiling as you swing that right knee to the right. And then without looking, maybe look at your screen, but don't look down. Without looking at the elbow, maybe you can work that elbow down on the inside of the thigh. Use the elbow as leverage on the inside of the thigh to turn your chest open even more. Again, don't look down. Maybe you look forward at your screen if you got your camera on, but don't look down. And then with an inhale, come all the way up. And let's switch sides. Big inhale. And exhale, warrior two. Reaching, stretching out. Elbow on your lap. Using that elbow to steer. Swing that left knee to the left. There should be an arch in your left foot. Turning the knee out helps you cultivate an arch. Again, don't look down. Maybe look forward, maybe look up. Twist your belly up, chest up towards the ceiling. And then if it works for you, maybe work that left elbow to the inside of the thigh. Use that elbow on the inside of the thigh as leverage to get even more rotation. And then come on up. Once more on each side. And this time, if you like, take a little break here before we go into it one more time. Get that belt. If you have a nice long belt, you can actually buckle your belt so that you have a nice long tail. If you've got a 10-foot belt, you'll have a tail. You're going to take that belt around your body, a loose belt, one that will catch your hips so that you have a tail hanging off behind you. I'll show you the rear view on this one. So I've got my tail here. If you just have a short belt, you just tuck it into your pants so that you can find it. You want a tail. I'm doing this with everybody, so we're all going the same direction. Feet go wide. Right toes turned out. Left toes turned in. Big inhale, arms up. Exhale, warrior two. Reaching out. Elbow to your lap. Steer that right knee to the right. Have an arch in your foot. Twist your belly to the left. Left hand, back of your hand can go around your waist. Find that belt. Hold on to that belt. Right elbow on the inside of your thigh. Swinging that right knee to the right. Keep twisting your chest open. Keep twisting your chest open. Keep rotating, working your way down. If you can get your elbow down lower than your thigh, you might be able to flip that right hand underneath, take hold of the belt. Some of you might be able to work your hands together and clasp your hands together for a bound variation on side angle pose. You can stay here with the knee bent, or if you've got loose hamstrings, you can play around with stretching the leg straight, tipping over into a bound triangle variation. Because we did do some hamstring stretches, you might be able to go for a bound triangle. Or once again, bend that right knee, slowly release, come on up, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. Spin your feet. The wider apart your feet are, the more likely you are to get down low and wrap up. So give yourself space to work. So feet go wide. All 10 toes going to the left. Big inhale, arms up. And exhale into your warrior two. Stretching out into a side angle pose variation. Left elbow on your lap. Steer that left knee, swing the left knee to the left. Twist your belly to the right. Do not look down. Back of your right hand goes around the small of your back to find that belt. Left elbow, don't look down. Left elbow works on the inside of the thigh. So you can twist your chest up, work that elbow down. Maybe if you can get your elbow on the inside of the thigh, you might be able to flip that hand back, take hold of your belt, work your hands together. Usually one side is easier than the other. Definitely need to go around your waist and your thigh. Do not go around your butt. Stay here or play around with bound triangle, straightening the leg. And to come out of this, you bend your knee, unwind gracefully, come on up. All right, feet wide. You're still looking at the screen. Great, you're already there. I turned around so you don't have to see the rear view on every single pose I'm doing today. You can remove the belts if you like. Feet go wide, and to neutralize all that asymmetrical stuff, all that right, left, right stuff, we're gonna come into a forward fold with our feet wide. Hands at the top of your thighs, bend your knees, hinge over, buns towards the sun. Find yourself in that Parsvakonasana, wide-legged forward fold. Hands touch something. They touch the floor or they touch blocks. You've got nice long arms, short legs. You might be able to put your elbows down on blocks or elbows down on the floor. You're going to be here for a few breaths. Again, the goal is to neutralize. To balance the two sides of our body. Breathe. And after 3 or 4 or 5 slow breaths, the pose begins to evolve. You can play around with flaring your toes, toes turned in, let your pinky toes lift, fancy pinky toes. Knees are unlocked, but your heels press out. Your sit bones lift and separate. Your chest melts. Your head hangs. And maybe your breath becomes less ragged, smoother, slower, deeper. I like to transition. I just like to stay down here. So hands or elbows, something touching the floor so that you can work your feet in narrow and then bring your knees down to the ground and transition directly into that child's pose. Big toes together, knees apart, hips back on heels. So I've had this ball rolling around, kicking around here all morning. You don't need a ball, but if you have a ball, you can use a ball. I'll show you how to do the ball next. If you have blocks, no ball. Blocks, no ball. Blocks go underneath your hands. You're in this child's pose and you're going to tip the leading edge of the blocks away to get a little bit more stretch in your side ribs and your side body. Really lengthening out that extended child's pose a little bit more. So hips stay back on your heels. You're going to tip the leading edge of those blocks away, get longer through your side body. And you can play around with that to one side and then the other. If you have a ball, ball's nice because it rolls. And you can get that same feeling of extension. So big toes together, hips back on your heels, hands on blocks, pushing the edge of the blocks away, or hands on ball, pushing that ball away. And then you can play around with driving the bus one way, then the other. Just pulling the ribs out of your hips, uncrunching your lower back. Breathing. So if you're working those blocks, you're going side to side. And your hands are off the floor. So you can get a little bit more length in your side ribs. A little bit more stretch in your side waist. And then finish straight out in front. Again, neutralizing. After you go left and right, right and left, you want to neutralize, go straight down the middle. With your hands on blocks, tipping the edge of the blocks away, or with your fingertips on the ball, pushing that ball away. Letting your head and heart melt. It's getting a little bit too pinchy in the shoulders. Pull your chin up into your throat. So show me a double chin. Tucking your chin into your throat, lifting some weight out of the shoulders. And then slowly back on up. All right, it is time to lie down. Do a little bit more shavasanating. So if you need to do any final twisting, that's up to you. You want to put your legs on the coffee table, on the ottoman, on your sofa, on the seat of a chair, over top of a ball. You can go there, do that, or do any other variation on Shavasana you desire. Spend a few moments settling in, doing a little gentle twisting side to side if that appeals to you. And when your back is happy with you and you are happy with your back, it is time to settle in.